This is your reality check.
Hi everyone, and welcome to The Reality Check, the weekly Canadian show that explores a wide range of controversies and curiosities using science and critical thinking. This is the show for February 6th, 2018, and I am your host, Darren McKee. With me, as usual, are Adam Gardner.
What's up, Cupidoids?
Christina Roach.
Hey, checkers.
And producer Pat.
Hi, everyone.
We have a great lovey-dovey show for you today. Christina is going to explore some Valentine's Day myths, and then Pat is going to give us another game of Name That. And then I'll end with describing that thing that's beating in your chest, which is hopefully your heart. But first, Adam, some words.
For the past few weeks, we, along with other podcasts on the E1 network, have had short ads inserted at the end of our shows. Listeners may have noticed that the last two episodes featured a particular ad that was about the paranormal and UFOs. While such content isn't something we consider to be particularly harmful or dangerous when compared to other topics we sometimes cover related to subjects such as health and medicine, with no disrespect intended to the host of that podcast, it's something that's a bit at odds with what we promote here on the show. We're aware of the conflict and have taken steps to avoid promoting content which we have sort of a fundamental disagreement with in the future. That said, if we've done anything right over the past 10 years, we expect that we've given our listeners the tools to be able to evaluate the plausibility of such ideas for themselves, regardless of how they're exposed to them.
Yeah, do your own work, everyone.
Nice.
Thanks, Adam. And now we turn to Christina, given it is the month of February and Valentine's Day is on the horizon.
Yes, Valentine's Day is coming up, and I know it makes many single people and romantic couples a little stressed. So I figured there had to be a couple of good myths out there to lighten you up. I cite info from a plethora of places, so if you're interested in digging further, check out our show notes for sources and links. The National Retail Federation estimated American consumers alone would spend around $18.2 billion celebrating Valentine's Day in 2017. In context, it's a drop in the bucket of total retail sales, but it's still not a trivial amount. It ranks around third in terms of holiday spending after Christmas and Hanukkah, which is lumped into winter holidays, then Mother's Day, followed by V-Day. According to good old Wikipedia, as Darren would say, and in fact the most common explanation is that Valentine's Day, also known as St. Valentine's Day or the Feast of St. Valentine, originated as a Western Christian liturgical feast day, honoring one or more early saints named Valentinus. Now I say one or more because there are a few different saints with some very cool stories that could potentially be the one, but a lack of historical records makes it tough to figure out who it really is. Now, Valentine's Day is celebrated in about 38 countries, including Canada, the US, Australia, and the UK. And even though it's no longer a Christian holiday after the Roman Catholic Church removed St. Valentine from the general Roman calendar in 1969, the story goes that the church used one particular St. Valentine's martyrdom. He was killed on February 14th, 270 CE-ish, to co-opt an old Roman pagan fertility festival held mid-February called Lupercalia. Kind of sounds like what they did to another Christian holiday. It's widely believed that February 14th was first linked with the notions of romantic love thanks to poet Geoffrey Chaucer in the 14th century, when the tradition of courtly love moved from medieval literature to real life. In fact, many believe Chaucer is behind Valentine's Day, especially since there didn't seem to be any actual record of Valentine's Day before Chaucer's poem references it in 1375. So you'll see that quite a bit right now. The rabbit hole I went down researching Chaucer led me to a very witty, debunking / fact-based blog called Got Medieval from Carl S. Purdom III, a graduate student in medieval studies at Yale University. It is very funny. I'll link to it in the show notes if anyone's interested in checking it out. He writes that there are, quote, approximately 2.3 repeating facts that mainstream media types know about Geoffrey Chaucer, and one of them is that he is somehow responsible for Valentine's Day. Exactly how he's responsible for it, well, that's not one of the other 1 1/3 facts. End quote. He goes on to vent that the story gets twisted when passed from one reporter to another, so he attempts to clear everything up by explaining that Chaucer's Parliament of Fowls simply contains the first existing reference to a romantic Valentine's Day. But he also makes clear that just because no texts dated earlier than his poem make the same connection Doesn't necessarily mean that Chaucer invented the idea of doing romantic things on V-Day. Still, the myth comes up every year. Now, the holiday evolved in 18th century England when people expressed their love by giving each other flowers or sweets or sending handwritten greeting cards known as Valentines. In the 19th century, handwritten cards gave way to mass-produced greeting cards, which is a wonderful segue into another very popular myth. Have you guys ever heard people say that Hallmark invented Valentine's Day?
Oh, for Absolutely. Sure.
Yes, I think I've heard this at least once every February.
Yep.
Nope, Hallmark did not invent Valentine's Day. Cool story, but as I mentioned, giving cards was a tradition in England since at least the 1800s. In fact, it was Esther Howland, an artist and badass businesswoman, who is credited for mass-producing Valentine's Day greeting cards in the US. Okay, surely Valentine's Day is the most popular day for marriage proposals, right? What do you guys think?
I would say Christmas.
That's a good question. I would say neither, but I guess someday has to be most popular.
If you look at Statista, a statistics portal that collects stats and studies from over 18,000 sources, December was the most popular month for engagements.
There you go.
And this is specific to 2013, but I read this. Various sources mentioned December as the most popular month for engagements. 16%. May followed at 9%. February, June, July, August, and November were all 8%. Remaining months were 7%, with January the lowest at 6%. Christmas Day seemed to take the spot for favorite proposal date. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense if you guys think about it, right? There's family around. You want those people to be near you to make that kind of announcement. So
you save money on a present. You're going to spend that much money on a ring? I'm getting out of a present. Just putting it out there. It's just an idea.
Now, one more for you guys, just for fun. You've heard of the idiom, to wear your heart on your sleeve. This pervasive phrase is casually used to mean exposing your emotions or making yourself vulnerable. I've always wondered where it came from, and according to the Smithsonian, there are a couple of good theories. In the Middle Ages, Emperor Claudius II declared marriage illegal because he believed single men made better soldiers. As a concession, he encouraged temporary hookups, so once a year during a festival honoring Juno, the soldiers would draw names to find out which lady friend they were coupled with and would wear her name on their sleeve for the rest of the festival. Another theory is that the phrase may have originated during jousting matches in the king's court. Knights would dedicate performances to a woman of the court and then tie something of hers like a handkerchief to his arm to show he would defend her honor. Now, what we do know is that the earliest appearance of the phrase in writing appears in Shakespeare's Othello. But I will wear my heart upon my sleeve for daws to peck at. I am not what I am. So there you go. Some fun facts and a few debunked myths about Valentine's Day.
That's fantastic. I remember having covered Valentine's Day on the show before, but most of what you said was new to me. So obviously, there's just a ton of stuff about it. That's great.
Yes, it's nice to have a historical explanation of various things.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cristina. And now we turn to Pat for another game of Name That.
All right, here we go with another edition of everyone's favorite mostly guessing game, Name That. Today, in honor of Valentine's Day, I bring you a love/romance themed game.
Oh, boy.
We have 5 questions. As usual, I'll give you a piece of information, and then I'll ask you to name that from the choices provided. Also, a couple of the questions today are Spot the Fake.
Oh, nice. Nice twist.
Okay, I've randomly chosen the order, and we'll rotate. Darren, you're up first. Spot the Fake. Which of the following is not a real Canadian community coveted around the world for its romantic postmark? Name that. Is it A, Love Saskatchewan, B, Cupid's Newfoundland, C, Sweetheart Ontario, or D, Saint Valentine, Quebec?
You know, I quite like these types of questions because they're so difficult. Sweetheart.
Darren picks Sweetheart Ontario. Next is Cristina.
And you said these are not known. Whatever the answer is not. Correct?
Spot the Fake.
Spot the fake.
So it's a city that doesn't exist.
I was going to say Sweetheart myself just because I live in Ontario and I've never heard of it, but that doesn't mean anything. I feel like St. Valentine is the the one that he's trying to fool us with. But I'm going to go with Sweetheart, Ontario, C.
Cristina agrees with Darren. And lastly, Adam.
I wouldn't put it past Newfoundland because I know they have much worse city names. I kind of wanted to go with Sweetheart because I've lived in Ontario and I've never heard of it, but I'll go with Love.
Adam says Love, Saskatchewan. Love, Saskatchewan, Cupid's Newfoundland, and St. Valentine, Quebec, along with Heart's Content, Newfoundland, are all Canadian towns which offer a service to write a card or letter through their post office in order to get their postmark. All see large increases in their mail around February 14th. Sweetheart, Ontario, on the other hand, is a made-up place.
Yay!
Yeah.
Question number 2. Cristina, name that. What percentage of mammals practice monogamy? A, 5%, B, 10%, C, 20%, or D, 25%?
I'm going to go with B was 10%?
Yes.
I'm going to go with B.
Cristina says B. Next is Adam.
Can I get some qualifiers? Are we talking about a single sexual partner for life?
Yes.
And are we talking about the percentage of the number of species or like the percentage of beings? Like if you
Living organisms?
would we be 50%?
But I think you mean mammal species. Otherwise, it'd be so difficult to actually figure this out.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like it's 5%. I feel like it's low. I feel like maybe in the short term things are pretty monogamous, but for lifetime, I'd say it's like 5.
Adam says A. Last is Darren.
I'd be curious to hear this answer. I think it's actually less than 5, but I'll pick 5.
Darren agrees with Adam at 5%. Only 3 to 5% of the 5,000 species of mammals bond for life. They include otters, beavers, and wolves. Question number 3. Adam, name that. What is often thrown at weddings in the Czech Republic instead of rice? A. Peas. B. Seeds. C. Dried corn. Or D. Flower petals.
Or E, vodka.
Corn seems extremely unlikely because the crop doesn't come from there. I feel like it's flower petals, but it's not weird enough to be a cool fact, you know? What was the first one? It was peas?
Peas, seeds, dried corn, or flower petals.
I'm gonna go with peas.
Adam says peas. Next is Darren.
Yeah, I wonder if the flowers is the lure or not. I will pick seeds, though.
Darren says seeds. And lastly, Cristina.
I'm going to go with the flower petals.
And Cristina goes with the bait.
Damn it.
They kind of flutter too much. They don't
In the Czech Republic, guests often throw peas at newlyweds. As with rice, it's meant to be a symbol of showering the new couple with prosperity, fertility, and good fortune. Question number 4. New York City offers a special and popular Valentine's Day tour. Darren, name that. The tour is of what kind of facility? A garbage dump. B, a sewage treatment plant. C, subway tunnels. Or D, a power station.
Well, that's just hot sexiness all around. Mm-hmm. What silly rom-com had a garbage dump or a sewage plant in it?
That's a nice angle, though. I like that.
Yes. Well, given it has to do with turning people on, I will pick the power station.
Heyo.
Nice. Next is Cristina.
I was going to say power station as well, so I'm just going to stick with my answer.
Cristina agrees with power station. And lastly, Adam.
I'm going to vote subway tunnel just because it sounds like a cool thing to do.
That was my second choice.
Adam says C, and the winner of this question is Pat. The Department of Environmental Protection offers a very popular Valentine's Day tour of the Newton Creek Sewage Treatment Plant in Brooklyn's Greenpoint section.
How is that popular?
I think it's kind of a cool place to visit, but I
Right.
don't think it has much to do with Valentine's Day.
I got
They
you.
just happen to do it on Valentine's
Right.
Day. So going to the last question, I have Adam and Darren tied with 2 and Cristina trailing with 1. Question number 5. Cristina, spot the fake. Which one of these is not a real dating site? A, The Ugly Bug Ball, whose tagline is, dating for the aesthetically average.
It's sad if average is ugly.
B, Clown Dating. Everyone loves a clown. Let a clown love you.
No, not everyone loves a clown.
C, Gluten-Free Singles.
Oh my God.
Living a gluten-free life can be challenging, especially in a world where gluten-soaked foods are just about everywhere. At Gluten-Free Singles, you're not alone. Or D, game, set, match. Online dating for racket sport enthusiasts, where the perfect score is love, love.
Spot the fake. Can you repeat A and B again for me?
The ugly bug ball, dating for aesthetically average, and clown dating. Everyone loves a clown. Let a clown love you.
As plausible as it sounds, you could be throwing us a curveball here. So I'm going to go with the gluten-free singles C.
Cristina goes with gluten-free singles.
I have nothing to lose at this point.
Next is Adam.
I'm going to go with the clown one as being the fake.
Adam goes with clown dating. And lastly, Darren.
I was going to go with clowns too, but then there'll be a tie. I also wonder, to what extent is Pat going to come up with cutesy, jingly rhymes as to market these products? And clowns in the first one seem so minimal. Okay, we'll go with clowns.
So Darren agrees with Adam, and the winner is Pat. The answer is D. I made up the one about racket sports, and so far as I can tell, such a dating site doesn't exist yet. Anyways.
Well done, Pat. I think we should start one.
All the others do. So we're currently in a tie. I don't have a tiebreaker, but I do have a throwaway question that I haven't written down, but I think I have it in my memory. Do you guys want to try and break it?
Go for it.
Sure.
All right. So as I recall, I had a question that I threw away, and it was related to a survey done in 2017 by a company called Not.com. And it was about weddings, and they had done a survey of 4,500 people who had recently been engaged or married. Mm-hmm. And so the question is, and you guys, whoever gets the closest to the percentage will win. Okay. And it's just Adam and Darren. Cristina, you're out.
Yep.
What percentage of people answered that they met their new partner via a dating site?
What year was this?
And not Price is Right rules, you can go over. 2017.
2017. 62%.
Adam says 62%. Next is Darren.
Sorry, this was a survey of people.
4,500 people who had recently been engaged or married.
32.
And the answer was 17. Darren is your winner.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That was pretty far out.
I was like, Adam, was it an online survey? Because that was the only way it would be that high. It was by a sample.
Right, so 17%, that was as high as people meeting people through friends, both the top answers. One of the things I thought that was interesting about that was 2% of people answered that they met their new spouse on Facebook.
Really? That doesn't surprise me, but 2%. Interesting.
Congratulations, Darren.
I feel filled with love for my loser co-hosts.
Oh, yeah, Darren. Well, you know how the saying goes, lucky in love, unlucky in name that love trivia.
I believe that is a saying. I believe we'll cover that next week on The Reality Check. My heart is truly aflutter from winning, and given that Valentine's Day is coming up, as you may have already heard earlier in the show, I thought I'd do a little primer on the heart, much like I did with neurons last week, but this time it'll be more of a series of facts cobbled together from the Cleveland Clinic, Wikipedia, and some other sources. Let's start with a quick Google search. Heart is an American rock band that first found success in Canada and later in the United States and worldwide. I think that about covers it. Yeah. I joke, of course. Dictionary definition: a hollow muscular organ that pumps the blood through the circulatory system by rhythmic contraction and dilation. In vertebrates, there may be up to 4 chambers, as in humans, with 2 atria and 2 ventricles. That's you vertebrate you.
Cool.
In humans, other mammals, and birds, the heart is divided into 4 chambers: upper left and right atria, and lower right and left ventricles. Commonly, the right atrium and ventricle are referred together as the right heart, and their left counterparts as the left heart. I didn't actually know this.
I'm totally putting the Barracuda riff underneath the first part of what he was saying.
Many people think the heart is on one's left, but it is mainly in the center of your chest, although it's a bit more to the left, and is felt to be on the left because the left heart is stronger and larger since it pumps to all body parts.
What does the right heart pump to?
To the lungs.
Okay.
Oh.
Aha. So the right part of the heart is the pulmonary, and it goes to the lungs and provides the oxygen circulation stuff, and then the left one goes to the rest of the body.
So you kind of need both of them. It's not like you can just not use your lungs. You know?
You're such a left-hearted individual without your oxygenated blood. Because the heart is between the lungs, the left lung is smaller than the right lung and has a cardiac notch in its border to accommodate the heart.
Cool.
Now, that is speaking on average. There are people who have a bit offset to the right. Your heart is about the size of a fist and weighs around 11 ounces or 300 grams. All of this stuff is going to be arranged, so the range is around 250 grams to 350 grams.
Yeah, like the Grinch's heart.
Exactly.
Drastically.
I believe he had the largest one, as it was larger than his ribcage. It actually busted through. You can see the documentary, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. A blue whale has the largest heart, and it weighs 1,500 pounds.
Jeez.
Wow.
That's a whole lot of muscle. A heart beats on average 72 times a minute, which makes about 103,000 beats per day, 37 million per year, and if you live to be 80, about 3 billion times.
Wow.
I actually did the math on that. On average, men have a lower heart rate at 70 beats compared to women's 78 beats per minute.
Huh.
Accommodate those previous numbers accordingly.
That's why we like different kinds of music, you know?
Exactly. Citing a medical textbook by John Hall, Wikipedia says that, quote, exercise temporarily increases the heart rate, but lowers resting heart rate in the long term, which is good for heart health. I'd often wondered about this. Exercise is good for many things, but if you don't enjoy it and you aren't doing it socially, there's a cost to your time and happiness. I think it's worth the trade, of course, but everything has pros and cons.
Sure.
What about the amount of blood that is pumped? Pump you up. Or cardiac output, as it is called. For a healthy person weighing 70 kilograms, the cardiac output at rest averages about 5 liters a minute, ranging 4 to 8 liters a minute, which means 16,200 liters a day. That's crazy. Just pumping all the time.
Hey.
Cardiovascular diseases are the most common cause of death globally as of 2008, accounting for 30% of deaths. Even though heart cancer is very rare because heart cells stop dividing early in life.
Oh.
A lot of the heart death is also likely preventable. Stop drinking and smoking so much.
Oh, wow.
Because the heart has its own electrical impulse, it can continue to beat even when separated from the body as long as it has an adequate supply of oxygen.
For how long?
It's minutes or more, as long as it has oxygen. Now, you might be wondering, well, is it going to still pump nothing, right? Because it's pumping blood. But I believe on its own, as long as it's connected to something that has some oxygen supply, it'll just keep going.
Wow.
I believe the oxygen provides ATP, which provides the energy for the nerve cells to stimulate the electrical impulses which cause the contractions. Does that make sense?
So does this back up those crazy kung fu movies where someone goes and they grab someone's heart from their chest and it's pumping in their fist?
Actually, that's a good question.
Yeah.
It just might. That's pulled away pretty quickly from everything, so I'm not sure if it would still beat if it's disconnected from what it needs to be beating.
Yeah, it's severed from any oxygen.
That could be a future show. Now, pretty much all your living cells are directly served by blood vessels, except your corneas.
And how are they served?
They get it from membranes and interacting with cellular fluid and the outside world. And finally, given we care about reason and general understanding of things on this show, I thought it was interesting that many classical philosophers and scientists thought that the heart was the place of emotion and thought, not the brain. Boy, people in the past were stupid.
Well, I guess when you have a sort of heartfelt moment, you feel it in your chest, which is probably more your lungs than your heart, but could also be your heart racing. Obviously, that's not where the thinking happens, but you can understand why someone would maybe feel an emotion in that area.
Oh, completely. Right? I was being facetious. It makes perfect sense from an older worldview of looking at your body sensations, and you rarely feel your brain feel anything. It might actually can't feel anything on its own. You might have a headache, and if you have an open wound, you still won't feel your brain feel something. That's not how it works. But yeah, your heart is so connected to things. It races, it's calm, it's erratic, it's not, or even your gut. All these things to seem make more sense.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, oh yes, well, part of my temporal lobe just lit up and I can feel it. No, that's not how it works.
I still think of hunger and thirst as being something that comes from the stomach, but it's really just coming from my brain. My brain's telling me I want to eat. Right?
It certainly is telling you, but it's connected to your stomach, which is getting information. So it's all connected, as you know.
Yeah.
And that ends your little roundup of heart facts. Thanks for listening, everyone, to our little Valentine's Day show. Cristina gave us a nice historical overview of various Valentine's Day myths. Pat gave us another quirky, delightful game of Name That, and I gave you some quick heart facts. Hopefully your heart is filled with skepticism and science and critical thinking this Valentine's Day, and maybe a bit of love. Until next time, think better to act better.
Peace out, Cupidoids.
Stay classy, not smart-assy.
Good night, everyone.
For show notes or to discuss this episode, visit our Facebook page and website at trcpodcast.com. For general inquiries or to send a topic or parody suggestion, email info@trcpodcast.com. Help support the show by leaving a review on iTunes and liking us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at TRC_podcast.
Outtakes.
Thanks, Adam. And now you, Now you.
Now you.
Now you.
And with Valentine's Day on the horizon, we now turn to Cristina.
Oh no, it's going to be one of those.
Or cardiac output, as it is called. I'll just do the whole thing again for you, Pat. Or cardiac... Maybe I won't. Or cardiac...
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
Watch Chuck Norris.
The only living cells that are directly served by blood vessels... No, let me do that again.
I don't know if Chuck Norris ever did that.
I don't think he did either.